This is the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. I'm Kevin Scholla.
The media, the mainstream media, is not going to be fair in terms of providing the public information, not just through a campaign, but about what Obama is standing for and what his administration has done to this country.
Gearing up for CPAC, the nation's largest annual gathering of conservative students, activists, and policymakers, gets underway Thursday and runs through Saturday, all culminating with a huge speech from Sarah Palin. The governor will be the closing speaker late Saturday afternoon, and that has created quite a buzz, not only throughout Washington, but nationwide, as conservatives from near and far will be descending on our nation's capital for a super fun-filled, informative, and important few days. Today, we're happy to be joined by Greg Keller, the executive director of the American Conservative Union, the group that puts on CPAC each and every year. Greg will break down just what you can expect at this year's huge gathering, and we are pleased to have him here with us today on the Palin Update on SaraNet Radio. Greg Keller, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. I'm glad to be here.
So big doings in Washington, February 9th through the 11th, when CPAC takes over the town, and folks are quite excited that Governor Palin will be your big speaker to close things out on Saturday.
Yeah, Kevin, we're absolutely thrilled, and like you said, it really is big doings. This is going to be the first time that Governor Palin has ever spoken at CPAC, which is really pretty amazing. We're thrilled to have her. It's going to be one of the biggest, best conservative political action conferences we've ever put on. As you said, it's going to be February 9 through 11 in Washington, D.C., and we're so thrilled to have Governor Palin. She's going to be joined by other folks like Jim DeMint from South Carolina, Marco Rubio, Newt Gingrich, Paul Ryan, Michelle Bachmann, Mitt Romney, Rick Santorum. It's really going to be a who's who of the conservative movement, and it's going to be led by a keynote address from Governor Palin. We're thrilled about it.
Why was Governor Palin chosen for such an important role? You mentioned some of the other names there, so a lot of huge big dogs here in the conservative movement. How did Palin get the nod?
Well, we at CPAC and the American Conservative Union, we really think that Governor Palin represents, a really important constituency within the conservative movement. There's probably no one in the conservative movement who communicates better or more effectively or gets, kind of the conservative grassroots more ginned up than Sarah Palin does. And so, going into 2012, this is going to be, of course, Kevin, every single time you have an election, people always say it's the most important election of their lifetime, but it really actually may be true this time around. I mean, with this administration and some of the things that they're doing, this is going to be an incredibly important election cycle, and we just thought it was really important to have Governor Palin to be there to rally the troops and get them focused on what we need to accomplish as conservatives in 2012.
Yeah, and it is quite a lineup overall with the governor speaking the keynote address and also some of the names you already rattled off. Greg, how important is CPAC? Is it just an event to rally the base, or does it serve a greater purpose than that? I think you may have already touched on that a bit, saying how very important this 2012 election cycle really is. Yeah,
well, first of all, I think CPAC does a better job, than really any other event in the country of bringing new blood into the conservative movement. We had over 11,000 attendees at CPAC last year, Kevin. We're going to have more than that this year. The event just keeps growing and growing. And about 50% of those people who come are, people in their 20s and even in their teens. We even get some high school kids there as well, too. So CPAC is incredibly important for the conservative movement in bringing new, fresh blood into the movement. And it's also really important, we say that CPAC is the agenda-setting item in the conservative movement each year. The panels that we have, the discussions, the trainings, the breakout sessions, the speakers, they are really setting the agenda for what the conservative movement is going to be talking about in 2012. And I think you're going to see that. We're going to have panels on, Obamacare, panels on Fast and Furious. And these are going to be the things that people are going to be talking about all throughout the year because CPAC helps set that agenda as to what the campaign is going to be all about.
Yeah, you mentioned some of the young supporters. I just spoke to a couple of leaders of some college Republican groups who are coming down, and they're doing the whole 9 yards, too, Thursday to Saturday.
It's awesome. I mean, they have so much fun. I mean, they get brought into the movement. They learn what it's really about to be a conservatism. I think CPAC, is one of the few things that really kind of helps make conservatism cool to a lot of these college students. And there is not a single day that goes by, Kevin. I monitor our Twitter feed here pretty closely. There's not a day that goes by these last few weeks where I don't see, an email from a college Republican chapter in Minnesota or in Connecticut or in Texas where they say, hey, 14 of us are coming from the University of North Texas to CPAC. Can't wait to be there for the first time. I mean, it's just a really exciting thing to see these kids get so excited about learning about what conservatism is all about.
Will one of the overriding themes this year be unity? Because we all know in order to defeat Barack Obama in November, it's going to take all hands on deck.
Without a doubt, we announced recently, for instance, that Andrew Breitbart is going to be speaking at CPAC this year. Andrew Breitbart has talked about the need for unity. We're going to have everyone on the conservative spectrum, from Andrew Breitbart to Michelle Bachmann to Sarah Palin to Grover Norquist to a lot of other folks. And you're absolutely right. This is going to be, in 2012, CPAC is going to be conservatives coming together and talking about what they need to do to defeat the Obama agenda, because our CPAC attendees think that this is the most dangerous president that America's ever seen, and frankly I pretty much totally agree with them on that.
Now, as far as Governor Palin, when will she speak, and do we have any idea what we can expect from her?
Sure. Governor Palin is going to be speaking on Saturday afternoon. She's going to be speaking at 4:30. She's going to give a long stem winder of a speech. We really haven't circumscribed at all what or tried to guide her in what she's going to say, just because we're certain she's going to give a great speech. But she's really going to be the capstone to the entire weekend. You can see if any of your listeners, Kevin, want to see the entire agenda of what we're doing minute by minute at CPAC this year, they can go to our website, which is cpac.org, and see all the speakers, all the breakout sessions, everything.
Yeah, you just stole my next question. I was just going to get that website up there for you, make sure everybody can check things out. And you mentioned young folks getting involved, and I'm sure some other people, too, who aren't so young coming out for the first time. As you said, you see the numbers growing. What does that tell you about conservatism as a whole, not just CPAC attendees, but for people, like you said, from all these different states? People must really have, to take a quote from Sarah Palin, the fire in the belly to, make the trip. I mean, people have jobs and families and things to do. It's an expense, and it's a big deal, but people are going to be there.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There's really so much, contrary to what the mainstream media says, there's really so much ideological diversity within the conservative movement, and I think you see a lot of that at CPAC. I mean, we have, the social conservatives, we have the fiscal conservatives, we have the national security conservatives, we have the folks who care about guns, we have the folks, who care about taxes. So there's just, really an incredible amount of diversity there, and it's just interesting to see kind of all those folks kind of brought together in one place at one time, and the event is growing, hugely. I mean, like I said, we're up around 11,000 people last year. It's going to be bigger than that this year. It's really the can't-miss political event of the year.
Yeah, we did mention that what you just touched on a couple of shows ago about, the GOP certainly being the bigger tent and conservatives also. You see on the left, it's the Pelosi, Reid, Obama way or the highway, and here you do see those differences of opinion. I guess the key is going to be when we find out who our nominee finally is for president, will those who come up short have their supporters rally around and see the bigger picture here?
Yeah, and I think that's the million-dollar question. My personal sense of it, Kevin, is that, folks, I think we're going to have a nominee that conservatives can get excited about, and we're certainly going to do everything we can to help that person's agenda along in 2012. I also think that conservatives are just so scared and so angry and so upset about what a left-wing ideologue this president has turned out to be. I think most people are going to turn out because they're going to like our nominee, but the ones who don't are going to be turning out to beat Barack Obama.
Now, we are going to certainly send everybody over to the website and check out the agenda and figure out what they want to see, and those who are attending. But before I let you run, Greg, can you just give us an idea of how things work for people who may be coming for the first time? You have speakers going on and also panels and other events all simultaneously in different rooms. Is that how things work?
Yep, we have multiple rooms going on at most times. For the big speeches, the big presidentials or someone like Governor Palin, there won't be too much going on in rooms while she is speaking. But it's really just kind of a great atmosphere where there are tons of interesting things going on at all times. If you want to if you want to do a training, you can do a training. If you want to hear a fantastic speech, you can hear a fantastic speech. If you want to go see a conservative movie, we have the CPAC Theater going for 3 straight days that is showing nothing but fantastic conservative movies that your folks are going to love. There's great, there's a lot of networking, there's a lot of parties, there's meet and greets. There's really everything that that a conservative would want to see at something like this, and it's really just so much fun, Kevin.
running the movies. That's a really nice touch. You know, I remember the first time I went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and a lot of times we went for a couple of days, and I sat in that room watching the NFL films that continuously ran. So it harkens me back to that. I bet you some people will be sitting there and say, hey, wait a minute, I missed that speech because this movie was so good.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a lot of great movies this year. Citizens United kind of runs that whole program for us, and they do a great job. They're going to have some great movies this year.
Great. Well, Greg Keller, you're the man. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Greg Keller on the Palin Update. Head over to cpac.org for more information on this super event. And Saranet Radio will be on hand at CPAC. So if you are making the trip to Washington, be sure to say hello. We're pumped for Governor Palin's speech and many of the other wonderful speakers scheduled to participate. CPAC 2012 should be a special one. Never one to mince words, Sarah Palin made it crystal clear this past week just what she thinks about the president's relationship with Notre Dame. On her Facebook page, the governor posted a note titled, How Obama Repaid Notre Dame. The governor looked back at the events that transpired in 2009 when Notre Dame decided to have President Obama as their commencement speaker and honorary degree recipient despite his anti-life agenda. So, what does Obama do to show his gratitude? Well, he wages war on Catholic institutions with his decision to strip protections from Catholic universities, hospitals, and charities. The timing may be the most alarming part. 3 days before the annual March for Life, the Obama administration announced Catholic universities, hospitals, and charities will be compelled to pay for health insurance that covers sterilization, contraceptives, and abortifacients. Palin says the Reverend John Jenkins, president of Notre Dame, took a serious risk in sponsoring Obama's 2009 honorary degree and commencement address, and now the president has made Jenkins and other progressive Catholic allies look easily duped. Interesting to see if the Catholic vote goes away from the left, thanks to this latest ill-advised move. Well, that'll just about do it for this edition of the Palin Update on Saranet Radio. Visit saranetradio.net for continuing coverage of Governor Palin. Also, follow us on Twitter at Saranet Radio, and we are now on Facebook, so please like Saranet Radio on Facebook. I want to thank everyone here at Saranet Radio. Thanks to Greg Keller, and thank you for listening today. Please be sure to join us next time for another edition of the Palin Update. I'm Kevin Scholla. We'll see you at CPAC. Have a pleasant day.